familiar with attending
You might need, I don't know if this will be good to have this. Let's see how that works. Maybe we'll move this out of the way. All right, jump in here, everybody. On your best faces.
Get right in the middle of that. So let's see
Scoot that way a little more. A little more. I told you it was nice soft tuck. Suck in, everybody suck in.
well, the ones that need it. The other ones won't need it. I'm one that needs it.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Mr. Spencer.
Yeah, that looks good, that looks good.
Oh, class. It's your last shot too. It's now or you fail.
All right. Well, it's not quite 6:30. We thought we'd kill a couple of minutes there by taking a picture and those things, but just leading up to our meeting here at 6:30, just like to welcome all of you here, and we're glad to have you here. This is a little unusual. We usually meet on Wednesday night, so it seems a little odd to be here on Tuesday night, but we have a National League of Cities conference in Salt Lake City starting tomorrow. Some of the things start tomorrow and then going through the rest of the week, and since it's that close, I elected to take some of my city staff down to that meeting and do some training and things down there in Salt Lake City at that meeting. It's usually a lot further away in Tampa or Dallas or somewhere, and it's expensive to get to, so we don't typically take more than one person, but since it was so close, we decided we would this time and try to get some training and things that are offered available there. So that's why we're meeting on Tuesday night instead of Wednesday night. So glad you all got the message and that you're all here. Let's go ahead and get started. This is the official city council meeting of the city of Rexburg in November the 18th, 2025. We'd like to start out our meeting this evening with an opening prayer and a pledge of allegiance. And I've asked former council member, President Robert Chambers, to offer the opening prayer for us this evening. And after which, Council President Walker, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance? Thank you.
Our Father in heaven, we give you thanks for this privilege of being here this evening in this city council meeting. We are grateful to thee for the gift of thy Son and for his gospel. We thank you for this marvelous city in which we live. We're grateful for those who are employed by the city, who give their time and service. We pray that thou bless them and protect them. We're grateful for this wonderful council. We pray that thou bless them this night with the gift of discernment, understanding, that their deliberations will be blessed. We are grateful, Father, for all of the blessings that thou hast bestowed upon us. We pray that we may continue to be worthy of thy blessings. We offer this prayer humbly now in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Could the audience please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate that. We would like to go ahead at this time with the roll call of our city council members, please.
Councilmember Johnson. Here. Councilmember Colin Erickson.
Here.
Councilmember Eric Erickson.
Here.
Councilmember Reeser.
Here.
Councilmember Riggins.
Here.
Council President Walker.
Here.
All right, thank you. We have a full council tonight, so we will proceed with item number, actually, we're gonna skip to item number 4. We're gonna delete item number 3 because our Eagle Scout project scout, Mr. Thomas Dye, couldn't make it tonight, so we will delay that until another meeting when he can be here so that he can show us what he did for us down at Eagle Park. We appreciate these young scouts that are still doing Eagle projects for us, and that helps us out a lot. At this time, I'd like to go ahead, item number 4, which is a presentation for our former council member, Robert Chambers, our appreciation of years of the service on the Rexburg City Council. So we'd like to ask Robert to come up, please, and we'll present you with some things. All right. We have a few items. Let's just set this right here. First of all, we have a plaque right here. It's got your old nameplate in there, and then this, of course, is a plaque that says the City of Rexburg would like to thank Robert E. Chambers, City Council member, for dedicated service from January 5th, 2022 to November 5th, 2025. In recognition of significant contributions to the betterment of the City of Rexburg. So we'd like to present this to you at this time, and thank you so much for your service to the City of Rexburg. Thank you. Let's give just a quick picture of that too. I don't know, Robin, would you take a picture of us, if you wouldn't mind, with this plaque presentation? We should record this for history, right? Okay. All right, thank you. All right, and we also have for you a beautiful, nice, warm, fuzzy blanket that you can cuddle up with when you have a moment in the evenings or in the mornings. This says, it's kind of hard to read, but it's got the city seal on it, and it says, America's Family Community, thank you for your service. So we'd like to present that to you as well. And along with a mug that says, thanks for being so awesome. There you go. So there you go.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Let's give them a big hand. And, say after you get done shaking hands, if you would like to take just a couple of moments and just say a few words, that would be great.
First of all, thank you, Mayor. I just can't tell you what a privilege and honor it's been for me to serve with this council. You're wonderful, and I've learned from you, and it's just been a joy. I'll miss it, but I am grateful for the new service I have too. I know you'll do well for the city, and the city's blessed to have you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Just slide that into, if you'd like, back that a little bit. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. And we appreciate the years of service that you have rendered, not only on the city council, but many of you might not know, Robert also served on our urban renewal board, as well as the president of our MEPI, which stands for Madison Economic Partners. And he served us well on that board too. So we will miss you greatly, but look forward to future years. So and wish you, of course, the best in your current endeavors as well. So thank you. All right, let's move on to item number 5, which is to ratify the 2025 City of Rexburg general election results as canvassed by the Board of Canvassers of Madison County on November 10th, 2025. I think we're all aware of the results there, so if there are no questions, we have one of the results here on our stand with us now, right? I appreciate Councilmember Riggins and accepting the call to take Councilmember Chambers' place and fill in for him for the last couple of months here of his term. So appreciate Councilmember Riggins being here with us, and we'll get you a shirt as soon as we can. A red shirt, Bill. We'll get you a red shirt as soon as we can. So.
Yeah, I'm on the one out.
We don't want you to feel left out. So, all right. So if there are no questions or discussion, I would entertain a motion to ratify the general election results. Is there such a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I shall move that we ratify the results of the Rexburg general election.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember Riggins. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. We will ratify those results. All right, at this time, item number 6 on our agenda is to welcome a new employee and administer the oath of office to Philip Golden, who is a new employee in our police department. So, Philip, we'll ask you to come up front, if you would, please, and our city attorney, Spencer Rammel, will swear you in.
I, Philip Golden, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
Of the United States.
of the United States,
The Constitution and the laws of the state of Idaho.
the Constitution and the laws of the state of Idaho,
The ordinances of the city of Rexburg.
the ordinances of the city of Rexburg,
And the law enforcement code of ethics.
and the law enforcement code of ethics.
I will endeavor to enforce these laws
I will endeavor to enforce these laws
to the best of my abilities.
to the best of my abilities,
And I will faithfully discharge all of the duties
and I will faithfully discharge all the duties
assigned or requested of me
assigned or requested of me
in my capacity
in my capacity
as a law enforcement officer for the city.
as a law enforcement officer for the city of Rexburg.
Thank you. All right. All right, we will ask Officer Golden to tell us a little bit about his family, if he'd like, or a little bit about himself. Just whatever you'd like us to know. As soon as he gets that certificate signed and becomes official. There you go. All right, yeah, go ahead.
I'll talk to you and both the community and the people that are here. I want to show my appreciation for this opportunity, serve my community, serve my family, and the public. I grew up in Washington State, and I've been in Rexburg for 4 years now. Law enforcement has always been a goal of mine since I was young. To make that happen is really awesome and fortunate. I look forward to bettering myself as an officer throughout the next years and hopefully with my career. Again, I want to thank everybody that has got me to this point, and I look forward to the
Well, thank you, and welcome to our Rexburg family, our team. Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much, and thank you for those of you who are here to support Officer Golden in his swearing-in ceremony. We appreciate you, and you're welcome to stay as long as you like, but there's no requirement. It's a free country, as they say. So, we will go ahead and move on to item number 7, which is a time for public comment. This is for items that are not on the agenda. We would ask you to come forward and state your name and address, please. And looks like we've got somebody here already.
Steve Oakey, 175 South, Mill Hollow.
Okay, thank you.
Insofar as the last election results, I'd like to congratulate Colin and Bill and Alicia. I think Alicia's here.
She is.
There behind me. for the, so congratulations. There was another item on the recent vote, which I have to plead ignorance on, and I'm gonna show some ignorance on this particular issue, and that is the new law enforcement facility proposal. I think I'm in pretty good company by pleading ignorance because probably about 90% of your electorate, your customers, are probably like myself. And I have not been very diligent in the last year or so, attending city council as I usually did. I had some bad health issues, getting back in the swing of it. So I think that in regards to this facility, I think that there's a large portion of the electorate that's ignorant. I voted no because of that. Not because of my opposition to the facility, but my opposition to the lack of information that was provided for people like me. And I have spoke to several people about this issue, and it seems like we all share the same concerns. And my information in talking to these other people is a little bit anecdotal. I don't have a broad survey of the electorate nor their concerns, but the concerns I have, I think, are quite legitimate. I am of the understanding that there was some discussion with the county about a combined law enforcement facility. Be that as it may, I'm not privy to that information. I also understand that there's been some property that has already been purchased, and seeing how that property's been purchased, I suspect that there's probably also been some preliminary drawings rendered. I'm also ignorant of that. I would like to make a proposal to you to satisfy myself and perhaps a portion of the constituency who feels the way that I do. I recognize that my proposal, I don't expect any action. I would hope that I would be able to start a conversation on some of these issues, but I'd like to just make a proposal, and in fact a motion, and I know that I'm not in a position to make a motion. But in the event that all it would take was for one of you to make a motion if this business came up on your agenda. So the motion I'm going to propose to you is to bring some community awareness to this issue. It's going to take some effort. I propose that the city council, the county commission, Chief Rhodes, and Sheriff Fulmer meet in an open public forum whereby they could provide a strong argument for the following two questions that I have, for or against, and also perhaps a Q&A for a follow-up. I've looked up areas in the United States where there's a combined or consolidated law enforcement entity in various counties in the United States. Louisville, Kentucky, Indianapolis, Indiana, Miami, Florida, and Nashville, Tennessee, just to name a few. When I say consolidated law enforcement, these entities in these particular metropolises share both the sheriff, they share all law enforcement activity in those counties, both city and county. The proposition that I ask you to consider is this. Number one, why is it that the city and county cannot share the same law enforcement facility, which would have certain obvious benefits to the law enforcement in Madison County and to your customers, that is the citizens?
Yeah, there are some.
That may have already been.
It has.
Therefore, but has it been made in public? Under the forum.
Probably that part of it, not so much. Yeah. There's also there's obvious benefits, but there's some obvious drawbacks.
So
but
I'm happy to engage a conversation, not while I'm standing here, unless you choose to. I'm happy to do that. But seeing how I got 3 minutes, and I'll probably already answer that. My second question that I would wish that you would answer is that, seeing how if in the event you determine that there's a very strong reason why you cannot join the law enforcement agencies in Madison County. The second question is, why can you not conjoin them to be serviced under a single elected official, perhaps the sheriff. There's a lot of details I'm sure that I would be missing. It's not my place at this time to propose those. But my motion is to have one of you make a proper motion, to be seconded, to have the county commission, the city council, the law enforcement superiors to answer questions, to make this, and quite frankly, I haven't heard any argument. Here's my ignorance, Barry, now. I haven't heard an argument. Why is it that the county commission or the county sheriff's office and the city police can't share a single facility? Happy to have a conversation.
Well, I would comment, but
like I said, this. If you want to stand here, we'll have a discussion.
No,
Happy
I
to do
don't.
that, but I'm probably 5-10 minutes now into my 3-minute comment.
oh, 3 minutes and 3 seconds, so you're good. Yeah. No, there's I will just make this comment. All of those things that you mentioned were thoroughly vetted, and to be honest with you, we thought we had put a lot of that information out, and you are pretty ignorant on a lot of those things. I mean, I don't mean that negatively. I just mean that we tried to get a lot of that information out. We had 2 open houses over the police station so people could come and see and ask questions, and we put stuff on Facebook and Instagram and our website, and all this, everything that we could do to try to get, and still, people, it's not only this issue, it's the same thing with our baseball and softball and everything, and people say, I didn't hear anything about it, and we put it everywhere we can think of to try to put messages out to people. And but even so, your point is still well taken. I've had a lot of people say, well, we didn't really understand why this or why that or that, or so we know that there's an information void there, and somehow we've got to try to get that information out there better. We just, maybe we need to have you and somebody else that's a online whiz to help us get information out to people better, because we've tried everything we can think of to get the information out there, and we still, have people that say, well, we don't know this or we don't know that or all that kind of thing. So your point is well taken. I think we do need to get the information out there better, and maybe, like you suggested, have an open forum that people can come to and answer or ask questions that we can answer on the spot there, and try to entertain all of these questions that have come up, because we tried to put information out there that would answer most of those. We may not have got them all answered as well as we probably should have. Well, obviously we didn't, or we would have got that extra 4% that we needed to get it passed. But we did get 63, almost 64% of the people that voted for it, and I think most of the voting public felt pretty good about the information we put out, but obviously there was that the other percentage that either voted no because they really didn't want it or they didn't understand things about it, that, as you mentioned, that voted no, so just because maybe didn't know as much about it as you felt like you needed to. So that's something that we are going to take under advisement and try to do a better job to get the information out there, because the need hasn't gone away. It's not going to go away. It's just going to get more and more needful as time goes on. So yes, Councilmember Johnson.
We hear that often. I'm curious if any residents have ideas for us of how we could better get the word out. Do you have any suggestions for us?
Well, he made the one, but I don't know if there's others that you have.
Well, we did have 2 forums
Yeah.
that were Q&A, but I don't know if people heard about them. So.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's why I say it's hard to get, we can have forums all night long and every day of the week, and we get 3 or 4 people that show up to them, and, it's just, it's really frustrating for us too.
Yeah, I would like to have your suggestions.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you've got, I think your idea to have an open forum, like you mentioned, is good. And if you've got other ideas that we can put out there, I've actually been collecting questions from people, and I have them written on a paper on my desk, a bunch of different questions that people felt like they wanted answered. And we pretty much had all of those questions on, or answers on the website, but the answer I'm getting is, well, I don't go to your website. And so, you know, one of the suggestions I got was we need to take a lot of these questions and we need to make some short little podcast type videos that answer these questions and put those out there so that people, you know, it comes up on their, you know, when everybody's scrolling on their Facebook, it comes up on that so that people see it on that, so they don't have to go to the website to find it. Those are some of the suggestions I've gotten, and I think they're probably a pretty good idea to do some of those kind of things. So, yes.
One.
Go ahead, Councilmember
Go ahead,
Erickson,
go
and then
ahead.
Councilmember Riggins. Yeah.
Just a quick question. Part of your question was about the issue of pursuing the possibility of combining city and county. Does that come from a point of efficiency, cost benefits? What's your thinking?
Well, okay, we're gonna have a conversation.
Well, no, not necessarily.
Okay, so I've been asked several questions here. I really don't think it's my place. I'm not on the agenda. Like I said, I'm happy to have a conversation, and I would prefer to have it done in public. I don't want a one-on-one. And if these questions are gonna start floating around, I have questions. I do have efficiency things in mind, effectiveness and safety. I mean, you know, we could run the gamut. We could talk about all sorts of details, how this thing would take place.
Well, and we
You know,
will.
it's not Eric, it's really not me to stand here and have a back and forth.
And I don't mean to do
Unless
that.
you want to put it on.
No. I think it's worth pursuing those discussions. So as we approach another, because this will come up again, we'll need to address it again.
It may be
a time to
scheduling it.
address those
I
issues.
have a lot of questions, and I have some propositions. You know, we're tossing out ideas. I am admittedly ignorant and late coming to this issue because it came up in some conversations I had with some other people. There didn't seem to be an awareness. Now, however you laid that out there for people like me to peruse through, I'm at fault for that. So, you know, I'm not going to blame you guys for putting the effort, but I would like to see now that you've had it on the ballot, and you did miss your percentage points.
Just barely.
Just barely. I wonder if many of those people that voted for it was just a knee-jerk reaction, and as in, sure, we do need a police station. We need a new administrative facility for law enforcement. That's an obvious thing. That's not a question I think is really up for very much discussion. There may be a small percentage of people that would react negatively towards that. But you know, I'm gonna sit down.
All right. Well, thank you for your input. We appreciate that. Bill, did you have a comment? Councilmember Riggins.
I just wanted to make note. I appreciated the fact that you started out by letting us know that you had been ill and hadn't been out, and so I think that we do have these public forums, but I believe we have to think holistically in the sense that there are shut-ins, there are people that can't, but they get out and vote, right? And so I think your comment is well taken in the sense that we have to make sure that everybody knows. All of us on this stand here know what it's like to run for office and go out there, and the misinformation that gets sent out, and those that don't read what you put out, and so on and so forth, right? So, yeah, I think the point is well taken in the sense, and again in the sense that if there's one man that feels that he didn't get the information, then there's got to be 100 others, right? And those 100 would have put us over the top. So I think we just got to think from that perspective.
Well, they would put us over the top if they voted yes,
Yeah.
right?
No,
Yeah. So, okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Is there any other comments for public comment of things that are not on the agenda tonight? Anyone else? Anyone online? No? Okay. All right, thank you. We will move on to item number 8, which is our committee assignments from the council. So let's go ahead and start down here with Councilmember Erickson, and we will report on our committee assignments.
So I went to the school board meeting and had a great meeting there. It was a packed house from front to back. Seems like time flies by very fast. Seems like that was just yesterday, but it's been almost a month. Because you look back on it, the state volleyball was just going. Our volleyball team went and ended up getting second in state. Could have been almost 4-time state champions, which would be awesome, but they ended up getting second. They did get Academy state champion title for 4 years in a row, which is awesome. Our band was going on out and touring and doing some competitions. The football was out there, which they ended up getting beat by Coeur d'Alene. And the interesting thing about this I wanted to bring up with the school board is they hired 40 new teachers this year, which is,
Wow.
look at that, and over 200 other employees. So as you look at how many people they had to hire and bring in, which was a huge thing, trying to get 3 of those teachers though from Star Valley, which was huge to me because
kinda
as soon as they said
dangerous,
Star Valley, I picked it up right off and to bring them over from Wyoming where they pay a lot higher wage. It just shows what our school district has to offer here to our teachers and also to students. So that's our school board meeting report. There were several different groups that presented to the school board about going to different locations, one Washington D.C., California, New York, to present what our students are doing here throughout the United States. So that was very interesting. The other committee was, I just want to report to the council, was our golf board meeting. I'm just going to briefly touch on some of that. The letters we sent out to Pine Brook State trying to solve some problems out there with coming across the canal over onto the golf course has been prepared and sent out. That should probably alleviate the problems out there, I believe. We did have a pretty good, few citizens attend the meeting. And on this last meeting, they also brought up having a vendor possibly come out. And I don't want to discuss that tonight. I just want to bring it to your attention because it's going to be brought up in the joint meeting with the county commissioners. A vendor came in and proposed to be a vendor out there to come along and sell things on the golf course. So we'll discuss that when it comes down to a joint meeting with the school board, with the county commissioners and us.
Okay.
That's my report, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Is it appropriate in this meeting also to explain what they're hoping to sell? Because I've already been contacted by residents who have an interest in what they're proposing to sell at the golf course.
I mean, you can bring it up, but we'll probably talk about it at length in the joint meeting. So you can. Yeah, I mean, there's no secrets, so
Yeah,
you can bring it up.
I think residents should be aware if they care that it is alcoholic beverages by a cart girl to be brought around the golf course, because then if any residents have an opinion on that, they can let us know before we vote.
It's not just alcoholic beverages, right?
That was the main focus of what was
Isn't
in
it
their
like
proposal.
soda and beer and treats and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But what I think the residents would have an interest in is the alcoholic beverages. So I just think they should know so they can let us know beforehand.
Yeah.
It's
That's fine. Like I say, there's no secrets.
Yeah.
So
because if they have an opinion on it, they can let us know.
No, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, and also we did have a meeting with our Trails and our Parks Committee, and this was brought up in our last meeting, I believe, but we talked about paring back our Teton River Park since we just don't have the budget for, it was kind of like a big wish list, and then the reality sets in. But we are talking about keeping the bouldering, which I think is pretty neat, since the demographic we were looking for was teenage, adolescent residents. And I just think our committee is, I'm thankful for our committee. They go out and they look at the parks and they try to see how they can better them, and then they let us know. So we're thankful that we have that committee. So.
Thank you. Yeah, and just kind of a quick update on that too. We, as you said, we pared that back, and And then I think in our meeting here, we rejected the bids, unfortunately. But we've sent out, or we've got a new bid package ready to send back out. So hopefully we'll be able to get maybe some more local contractors, and hopefully our bid prices will come in a little less. Hopefully it doesn't come in more, which could happen. But we did cut a lot of things out, and we're making a couple of adjustments. We're doing a new pump station for that park. I think we're gonna have a pump station just for that park, because the previous plan showed sharing the pump station with the Donjo Park, which makes me a little nervous. I know it makes Greg a little nervous, because if that pump goes down, then we've got two parks that are out of water instead of just one, right? So I think we're gonna redesign that a little bit too. So anyway, that's that. We're still working on that, and there's a lot going on to try to get that all out and ready to go. Council President Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Mayor's Youth Advisory Board yesterday went out and worked at the mobile food pantry, delivering food to those that went out that needed it, and so they were out there all night. That's one of the service projects they do. And the ADA Oversight Board has not met. I think they're looking for members. I don't think they have a quorum. So they're trying to get more members on it. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Council Member Eric Erickson.
Yeah, just a couple of other items to do with the parks. If you go over to Smith Park, you'll see that we have some new pickleball courts. There are some issues that have cropped up with that, but the contractor told us that it's guaranteed they'll come back in the spring when the weather's better, and make those issues right. But we have 6 operational pickleball courts now, which is nice. Let's see. I guess it'll be the construction in the spring on the trail that goes from 2nd East on the north side of the river to down across from the new park, and that construction will begin this spring.
Right.
So we'll have that trail hopefully next summer sometime.
Yeah, it'll connect up to that trail that goes to Sugar City. You know, that one up along the road there.
Yeah, and there's discussion about a bridge that'll bring it across to the park, and that'll all happen over time. And then I had first meeting with Madison Economic Partners this month. Discussion centered around the possible collaboration together with BYU Idaho for a what's the word, Mayor?
Entrepreneurial center.
An entrepreneurial center that's been proposed. MEPI would probably be involved in that as far as the entity that would make it all happen. But there's some hoops to jump through and some pretty heavy lifting to make that happen. But there's a discussion on that, so we'll keep you informed in that.
Yeah, and just a real fresh off the boat update, or fresh out of the pan, or whatever we actually met with BYU Idaho officials and INL officials just today, just this afternoon, and talked with them about how we could, kind of get the ball rolling on that. So there'll be a lot more information on that to come, because it's really preliminary right now as to whether we can even do it, or how we would do it and all those kind of things. But just so that there is that discussion going, and we're trying to get that rocking and rolling on the economic development front. So, okay,
that's all I had.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Reeser.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The Legacy Flight Museum just last week hosted the BYU Idaho piano sale. I'm not sure as to the results of that, but it was a beautiful venue for that. I saw some of the images from that online, and so that took place at the Legacy Flight Museum. But other than that, we haven't met as a committee, nor with my other committee since the last time we met. So nothing else to report.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and Councilmember Riggins, we don't really have you assigned to a committee. Well, you actually
Well, I
do
can,
have the urban renewal,
so
right?
I've been serving as the chairman of the Urban Renewal Agency, so I know a little bit about what's going on there.
Yeah,
It's
that's great.
exciting, exciting time for urban renewal. We're working on creating a new district on the west side of the freeway off of Main Street there. Again, just working on it right now. So all the legal work is being done on that. We're also in the process of it was in a newspaper, so it's public information that we're in the process of purchasing the property from the school district, the old junior high school / high school, whatever it used to be, on Main Street. And so, again, we're excited about that and what it will provide for the city. Some looking at had some wonderful conversations with some investors on low-income housing, affordable housing, to be built on some of the properties that Urban Renewal already owns. So we're excited about that. So we'll be meeting again tomorrow on some of these things, but that's where we're at right now.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that report.
Mr.
And all
Mayor,
those reports. Yes.
I got one more thing to bring up once.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to have everybody put on their calendar. I know we'll have one more meeting before then, but Shop at the Cop will be December 13th. They've asked us again to assist in helping serve breakfast that morning for you and your spouse. So if you just put on your calendar, and then I'll get back the information as we get closer.
December 13th?
The 13th of December.
Okay. Early in the morning, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you very much for those reports. All right, let's move to item number 9A, our staff reports. We'll start with our finance report with our CFO, Mr. Matt Nielsen. With first off, our financial reports.
All right, good evening. I'm going to just talk through, I'm not going to pull up the treasurer's report. I'll just talk through it real briefly, but it's just a 1 month report. So as you guys look at the percentage spent, 8.3% is the 1 month. We spent about 5.3%. Now there were a few funds that were definitely higher than that 8.3%. And as you look at those, the majority of them are projects that just really carried over, that didn't quite get done in fiscal year 25 and came into fiscal year 26. So unless you have questions, that's probably all I'll bring up on that report.
Matt, how overall did we come? Will we know when will we know where we came out for the fiscal year 25?
We have our auditors coming the first week of January, and then we're still in kind of the year-end process, and we have probably another 4 weeks to finish that up. It just takes a long time.
Okay.
So, all right. So I'm going to go to this. So I think many of you have know that we engaged a company, FCS. It's a Bowman company. Probably started this process 6 months or more ago, and it is quite the process. Those involved from our side have been legal, public works, obviously finance. The mayor's been involved in many of these meetings, and just so you know, those meetings will continue for many more months. So we're not even close to being done. And so as we've looked at that, we went through a process of looking at utility rates and then also capacity fees. So for people that are buying capacity in water and sewer. And then of course, with the utility rates, it's been sanitation, water, and sewer. And so hopefully you guys had a chance to read the memorandum. I'll just kind of hit some of the highlights, but they provided this memorandum that kind of describes the process we've went through so far. But really the point of all of this is of this utility rate study is to there's really three goals that they kind of target. One is stability, one is revenue sufficiency, and then another one is rate equity. And then probably the biggest thing is we just want to make sure that we're equitably recovering costs from each customer class. Now that's a new thing that we're not prepared to talk about tonight. That's going to continue on for many more months. But essentially what we're looking at is breaking down the utility rates even more than just a base fee and a flat rate. So you would actually look at classes of users, whether that's single family, apartments, or commercial. And so we're looking at that. So this particular item that we did finish was the revenue requirement, which is basically the total revenue levels needed to fully fund each of those respective utilities. What they did is they looked at a 5-year forecast, so from 2025 to 2030, and then after we ran that for water and sewer, you can see in this memorandum the results of that revenue requirements. And I'll just kind of hit the highlights. Essentially, it came back that, you know, we have enough money coming in to cover the operating expenses, but what's happening is the capacity available for capital is beginning to erode. And then as you incorporate a 5-year capital improvement plan, which is massive, I'll just call it that, for water and sewer, if you look at that 5-year plan, very expensive what's in that 5-year plan. It's only going to erode and pretty much wipe out, if you will, all of that capacity, meaning that you will need to take on additional debt if you're going to fulfill those capital improvement plans. So what this is saying is at this time, based on the revenue requirements, the recommendation for water is that we do an 8% increase effective January 1st of 2026, and then we turn around in October, which is the new fiscal year, and do 6%. And we keep in mind we did not raise water or sewer in October at the beginning of fiscal year 26. So we knew this was coming. I've been kind of priming that and letting you guys know. So then on the sewer side, that increase would actually be 8% in January and then 8% in October. And keep in mind if we change a rate, so if we change it in January, they don't actually see the rate change on their bill until February. So it lapses 30 days.
Wait, you said 8% and 8%.
Yeah,
8%.
You meant 6.
You
8
said
and
6.
Well, no, so water was 8 and 6, sewer 8 and 8.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Sorry. That's a lot of 8s.
Yeah.
So, so anyways, that is the recommendation from the consultants and from staff as we went through this process. Next steps, just to kind of give you an idea, is we'll work on a cost of service analysis, and then we'll look at rate design. To give you a couple ideas on rate design, some of the things we've been discussing. So water is a great example. Right now, we give the first 6,000 gallons included in their base fee. You know, we're going to look at the option of actually not doing that for several reasons. One of those reasons is conservation. You know, when you just include it, then they're not paying, you know, for those 6,000 obviously. And what you would do is you would reduce the volume rate. You'd end up reducing, you know, on the other side a little bit. And so anyways, I don't want to get into too much at this point until you guys can see it, but just think of it this way, you know, you would still have a base rate. You just wouldn't get those first 6,000 for free. You would pay a per thousand
Well,
rate.
technically, it's not really free. It's just included in the base rate.
Included in the
right?
base.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying is when you do the math, it changes the volume rate a little bit when you switch to that. But it does create more of a conservation effort, if you will, because then people are like, for every 1,000 gallons I use, I pay, right? And a lot of cities have went to that, trying to conserve water use. And so that's an option we're going to discuss down the road as we go through this process. So really tonight, if you look at the public hearing that Deb's pulled up here, the request is to do a public hearing on December 17th at 6:30 p.m. And then the rate changes that I just discussed would be for water and sewer only, not for sanitation, which that was updated past October. So, any questions? And then I guess what we're looking for, we're recommending that we set this public hearing, and we would need a motion to do so.
Yeah. Is there any questions on this before we move forward
I do have a
towards the
question.
public hearing? Yeah, go ahead.
Matt, when I'm doing this study, have we compared to what we charged compared to other cities? How do we balance out that with other cities about the same size of us?
We've done that before. The city's done that before, yes. But I mean, to be honest, every city is so different because we all have different assets in the ground. And the whole purpose of this rate setting process, right, is to come up with what current replacement cost is based on those existing assets. And so it's really hard to just say we're all apples to apples in a comparison, to be quite honest. But yeah, we've done it. I can't remember the name of the firm, but there's an engineering firm. They do it for all the cities in southeast Idaho every year, and you can look at that.
I'm just nervous of going up 30%. You know, you also got to think about our citizens are on fixed income.
Mm-hmm.
All that, you're jumping up 30% in 1 year. I just want to know we're at least capable of looking at those other ones, looking at where we charge them about the same for the water. I know every city's different, but
yeah,
do we charge the same or do we charge double for that same gallon of water? Or do we, or 1,000 gallons of water?
No, and I think that's why this is an incremental approach, right? That we're trying to take little stabs at it each year instead of trying to update every couple years. The other thing is the other way you can look at it, right, is if you're going to really carry out all those capital improvement plans, if you don't do this in their regular rates, you're going to end up just borrowing that money and paying interest on that money. And so you're either going to get it in the rate through debt, or you're going to get it through these fees on a monthly basis.
Actually,
and I think this is way more preferable than taking on more debt.
Hang on though, you said 30%. Where did you come up with 30%?
We got 14% for water and 18 or 16% for sewer.
Well, but you don't add those
Can't add
together.
them together.
I mean, it would all go up, you know, the 14% or the 16%, but you know, it wouldn't be 30% increase. It would only be a 14 or 16% increase.
It would be 8% for each of those in January, right, for water and sewer, and then the 8% and 6% respectively in October.
16% would be
that makes sense.
Yeah, for a resident, I'm looking at eventually going up that percentage.
Yeah, but the highest amount that he said it would go up would be 16%, because it's all your stuff together. You wouldn't add those together and get the 30%.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Does that make sense?
So just want to make sure, because I don't want everybody thinking we're going 30%.
Yeah, it's not 30%.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yes.
Mayor, just a thought, Matt. When you have that number, that whether it's 15% or 30%, I think it would be valuable to know an average of what a household would go up, right?
Yeah.
Because it may be $3, right? I mean, it just depends on. So I think we have to be that's a scary number when you look at it, right? Just from 30%, right? But if we're looking at it more of a, how much are we talking about average in here in Rexburg for us, right, as a household?
Yeah, and I can do that. We have a model to dump that in and show you. But I mean, I can tell you the base rate on water, your base rate's going to go up about $1.78, and then your base rate for sewer would go up about $1.47, and then it's just sewer. It's based on how much volume you use, which residential is not a high volume user of sewer, you know, compared to others. So.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Didn't, in like the 40-page document, didn't it have some examples Am I imagining that? Didn't you show a bill in that,
The budget
that
one?
big, huge 40-page one that was in the packet this time with it?
Well, I just
59
have,
pages
it's
or
only
whatever.
like 4 pages, the one that,
Yeah, 5
did you get?
pages.
Wasn't
or
there a
5
big one
pages.
in there? Or was that for something different? Maybe I have my,
It would be in the budget packet. I wonder if you're thinking about the budget packet,
Maybe.
because I do examples for like an apartment, a commercial, residential, and so I wonder if you're thinking of that.
or maybe it was the urban renewal and I've got them mixed up. Was that 40 pages?
Yes,
I read
urban
something
renewal
that
is-
was 40
that
pages.
one's
Okay.
huge, yes.
I read something from
Yeah.
40 pages today. But it is important to remember. So you're saying we need to save, right, for capital projects?
Yeah, so
Is part of this,
that's the
right?
whole effort of this, right? And that's what you do, right? Is you bring in money to replace those assets, because those assets don't last forever. And so when you're talking about capital, you're talking about really two forms of capital: replacement capital, and you're talking about new, like, capacity that you're adding, right? In theory, hopefully we're capturing enough money from the growth, right? People that come in and pay those capacity fees to pay for the additional capacity. So that'd be like new wells, maybe expanding something at the treatment plant, right? But the problem is your maintenance has to be replaced. It just doesn't operate forever. And I mean, a lot of sewer, you think about the life of sewer, our fixed asset length for a sewer line is 50 years. It's not like we replace them very often. But the thing that I have found, in the couple decades I've worked here is you do not do anything at a wastewater treatment plant for less than a few $1 million. I mean, you start doing anything to add capacity and maintenance there, you're talking huge projects, generally in the $2 to $15 million range.
Matt, will these rate increases apply equally, or even, at least equally, to those entities that are outside the city that use our facilities?
Yes.
So will they be going up these same percentages, or?
Yeah. So if you look at that, so you can see water and sewer. So you can see I've listed other city usage fee under wastewater. So that would be the other cities, Teton and Sugar. There'd be a change there. And then we also have a rate. So down at the bottom it says out of city limits, 30% surcharge for water or sewer. Those rates would also go up proportionately. And there's not we don't have a lot of users outside of those other cities for wastewater that are on our utilities, but there are some.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, Matt, I got a question. I see on the memorandum that we've got the percentage up that we talked about for 26 and 27. They also lay it out for 28 and 29 and 30. The percentages are smaller, but it does continue to go up.
Yep.
If those rates were to continue to go up at that rate, are you pretty confident that we'd be able to handle all of our maintenance and capital projects for that 5-year period?
Yeah, I mean, as far as your capital projects go, if you really do your capital improvement plan, your 5-year capital improvement plan, you will have to take on debt. There's no question. I mean, you will have to take on debt for both water and sewer. So it really becomes a timing issue, right? Like, we have a 5-year plan, but if the 5-year plan really takes 8 years or 10 years to build out, then we might be fine to not take on debt. But if you had to take on all of those capital improvement plans identified through the studies that we've done, oh yeah, you're bringing on debt. You're going to have to be able to do those. And that's not abnormal for utilities. It's, we just paid off our last sewer debt. We had a 2010 issue for $10 million. We just paid it off, 3 months ago? And so, but we do not have, the good news is we don't have any sewer debt right now, because we paid that off. We do have debt in water already. We have about 7-point-something million, but we're paying 1.75% interest on that through a DEQ loan. So that's pretty fantastic debt, if you will, because, when we build up our capacity fees and what we have in reserve, we're reinvesting that until we need it. So right now, we're reinvesting that at close to 4%. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
I had one. I'm sorry. It's probably going to sound really stupid. I just, so part of this was based on like population growth, right? Projected population growth. So we don't collect money for sewer and wastewater that we can use for any other reason, right? So it's not like we're building up a nest egg by charging residents this money. So if we didn't hit those projections for some reason and we realized that we were taking in more than we needed, we could
You
we
can
could
change it.
yeah, we could just fix that.
So the way that model works, just think of a giant spreadsheet with all the years. You can go in and you can change it. So if we say, hey, we're not growing that fast, we can change the model. So really every year that you do a review of that model going forward, once we adopt it, you can make changes.
And we will review it yearly, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you guys remember the old spreadsheet that, was developed over decades that we used to rate set. This is a lot bigger. Like it's probably 15 different workbooks that flow into the model for each water, sewer, and sanitation. So it's very, very comprehensive.
Okay. If there's no other questions or anything, the item on the table is we need to set a public hearing for these rate changes. So do I hear a motion to set a public hearing for December 17th?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion that we set a public hearing for the proposed fee increases for water and sewer, December 17th at 6:30 p.m.
All right, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilmember Johnson. Are you doing this?
That's
Ed?
Erickson.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't tell who said that. Councilmember Erickson, seconded by Councilmember Colin Erickson. Okay, hearing any further questions or discussion? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. We will go ahead and set that public hearing date for December 17th, 2025.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Matt. All right, let's move on to item number 10, which is the mayor's report. We do have a proclamation, which is the proclamation on Small Business Saturday, which is November the 29th of 2025. And I will go ahead and read that proclamation. Whereas the government of Rexburg, Idaho celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. And whereas according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, there are 34.7 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses represent 99.7% of firms with paid employees. Small businesses are responsible for 61.1% of net new jobs created since 1995. And small businesses employ 45.9% of the employees in the private sector in the United States. And whereas 68 cents of every dollar spent at a small business in the United States stays in the local community, and every dollar spent at small businesses creates an additional 48 cents in local business activity as a result of employees and local businesses purchasing local goods and services. And whereas 59% of U.S. consumers aware of Small Business Saturday shopped or ate at a small independently owned retailer or restaurant on Small Business Saturday 2024. And whereas Rexburg, Idaho supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. And whereas advocacy groups as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Now therefore, I, Jerry Merrill, Mayor of Rexburg, Idaho, do hereby proclaim November 29th, 2025 as Small Business Saturday, and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and to shop small throughout the year. So we will sign that proclamation and make that official. We do have to make it official by a ratification, however. So at this point in time, I would entertain a motion to ratify this proclamation if you so desire.
I'll make a motion that we ratify our Small Business Saturday proclamation.
All right, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Council President Walker. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. We will make that proclamation official. All right, let's move on to item number 11. Items for consideration. We have item A, the staff recommendation to approve resolution number 2025-12, which is the urban renewal eligibility study for the West Highway 20 district. This is the district that Councilmember Riggins mentioned in his comments about the urban renewal update. And let's see, do we have, let's see, Scott Miller is listed as the person to talk about this, but I don't know.
Hear about our representatives here.
Oh, okay,
You want to come up, Brad? I told Scott I'd cover for him as well.
okay.
So so Brad Kramer, you can stay here. I'll jump out of your way in just a second here. So he's going to show you guys, kind of just briefly go through, give you a quick review of the eligibility study. But let me just kind of set where we're at here. So I think, go to the second page, maybe show them the map. So you guys remember we presented this map to you for this proposed West Highway study area. Basically where we're at is Urban Renewal engaged Brad to do this eligibility study. They accepted the eligibility study through a resolution. It was then taken to the county commissioners. They accepted it through a resolution. And basically, we're bringing it now to you with a resolution to see that if you're willing to accept it. And then if you are willing to accept it, kind of next steps is Urban Renewal would then start the process to basically do the plan, if you will. And which will take a long time. It's kind of like, it's about an 18-month process. And I would say we're maybe 6 months into the process to kind of give you some perspective. And so the goal would be to probably have this thing done by next fall. And so that's kind of where we're at, but I'm going to let Brad jump in and give you a quick overview of the eligibility study. And then he'll tell you whether he thinks it's eligible for an urban renewal district.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Mr. Kramer, maybe start out by introducing, and maybe you're already going to do that, just and kind of what you do for a living and all that kind of stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, I'd be happy to. My name is Brad Kramer. I reside in Idaho Falls. Do you need my address, by the way, for the record?
No, that's okay.
So I'm the owner of Perspective Planning and Consulting. It's a staff of one. But I'm a certified planner. I've been in the a planner for over 20 years. Just recently started this business back in April full-time, a couple of years ago part-time. So thank you for supporting small business with your resolution. One of the specialties that I spend a lot of my business on is urban renewal. I do write reports like this and economic feasibility studies for a number of agencies, mostly in the Southeast Idaho region, but have participated across the state as well. So yes, I was engaged to write the eligibility study. I think you have that in your packets, and I'm happy to do this at whatever pace you want. But what I normally do in these presentations is just walk through the 15 state statutes that define what makes a property eligible. According to state statute, an area only has to meet one, but we look at all 15 to see which components are eligible to become an urban renewal district. And so what I would plan to do is just walk through the very condensed version of what each component looks like. And if you need more information, if you want me to slow down, tell me to slow down. If you need me to speed up, just give me the sign and it will speed up. But that's normally what I do. If that's okay with you, Mr. Mayor, just walk.
Yeah, that's
through
fine. I think it's good to go through it. Most of our council members are fairly familiar with urban renewal, so I don't. But if we have questions along the way, we'll stop you and ask.
Yeah. And if you'd prefer to just ask me questions, if you've read the report, I'm happy to forego the slides as well. So.
I think let's go through them.
Okay.
I think it's good to understand it as best we can.
Okay, sounds good. Well, as has already been noted, the slide that you have in front of you is the study area that I looked at. It's approximately 840 acres. It's bounded by 1,000 south, Highway 20, 3,000 west, and 2,000 north. Just quickly, as part of the comprehensive plan, most of this is low residential, commercial. There is some open space as well. As far as zoning goes, again, mostly low density residential. There are some public facilities. There's also commercial and mixed use zoning in the area. Some of this is within the county, which is why the county had to approve it by resolution as well. Most of it is also, though, within the area of city impact. The only exception to that is right in this general area here as Highway 33 curves to the south. That part is just outside the area of impact, but which is okay. That's not a legal issue, just something that does require the county to take a look. So as I mentioned, there are 15 criteria that the state requires we look at. And I'll go through these fairly quickly, but criteria 1 has to do with deteriorating buildings or deterioration of the site. I did not find that this area met that. It's a fairly new and developing area. Criteria 2 is very similar. This has to do with the age and obsolescence of buildings and the site. Not a lot of deterioration. There are some older buildings, but not enough to say that this criteria was met. What really makes this area eligible to begin with has to do with criteria 3, 4, and 5. This deals with defective street layouts, outmoded street patterns, and the need for correlation with other streets in the municipality. So I'm going to cover this in just 2 slides. The main area here is this intersection of 12th and Main Street. It's offset, it's misaligned, and yet it is the main connection for this entire area to the rest of Rexburg, with no other way across the interstate for a mile or so to the south and a couple of miles to the north. This intersection is critical. And as the area grows, this misalignment is very, very difficult to correct. And so that is an outmoded street pattern. It's a defective street layout. The next piece that also contributes, these dots, this is that same intersection. Each of these dots represents an access point to Highway 33. And in terms of traffic mobility, traffic safety, functionality, this is a problem for the safe traffic movement. Each one of these represents a point of conflict as cars enter or exit the highway. Now, this condition exists on Highway 33. It exists on 12th. When I measured based on your standards, there should be about 3 access points in this area where overall you have 20. So this is a very difficult condition to correct as well. It represents an outmoded street pattern. The photo on the right is the end of a sidewalk that's near the Karchner subdivision on the southern end of this particular development. Now, correlation with facilities is not just about streets. It is about bicycle and pedestrian facilities as well. If you were to look in the very background of this photo, you would see Madison High School, and there's the elementary school. For kids that have to walk, this is a problem and a need for correlation with other streets and sidewalks in the municipality. So these 3 criteria are all met in my review of the area. Criteria 9 has to do with faulty lot layout and diversity of ownership. This is also a situation where both are met. The primary reasons for that have to do with the widening of the road and with the old, the roads, the main arterials, 12th and mostly 12th, but also if you look at these lot patterns here, the faulty lot layout, these areas that are still in the county, now although creation of an urban renewal district does not force these areas to redevelop, it's not an indicator that they will redevelop. This is a review of if this creates a challenge to redevelop, which this does. These broken up lots that don't represent large enough tracts for modern development. This would take an incredible effort to assemble enough land to do development. So that faulty lot layout is an issue here in the study area. If I go to criteria 9, I'll pull up a different photo. When it comes to widening of the road, on the west side of the road, as I drove this, a lot of it has been widened where you have development. It becomes a greater challenge on the east because of the diversity of owners that you'll have to work with in order to obtain the right-of-way. It's particularly challenging because if you look at these lot lines, they come to the center of the road. And so each of these property owners represents an entity that must be consulted and dealt with when this road is widened, which it will need to occur as development happens. So diversity of ownership does present a challenge and is one of the criteria that is met. The next couple are pretty simple. I can breeze through. Unsuitable topography. We're looking for really steep slopes. We're looking for underground basalt. We're looking for things that would make development a real challenge. I did not find anything that was overwhelmingly challenging in the area, so criteria 7 was not met. That's true in terms of the soils, which is this map here. It's true in terms of the topography, which you can see from this map is primarily flat. 8 and 12, insanitary or unsafe conditions. Didn't find anything insanitary in particular, but I've already mentioned the unsafe conditions here on 33rd and 12th, as well as the lack of sidewalk to get bicycle and pedestrian traffic where they need to be. That is also a condition which endangers life or property. I think this, again, this image speaks pretty well to that issue. Excuse me. That's not what I found. I found that it was the unsafe condition. The endanger life or property has to do with fire and flood. Excuse me, I jumped ahead. So criteria 12 was not met. I didn't find any issues, although there is a portion of the study area in the floodplain, not in an area that currently contains any structures or development. So in terms of fire and flood, which is 12, that is not met, but number 8, which is unsafe conditions, is met by the overabundance of access points and the lack of sidewalk. 10 and 11, these have to do with tax delinquencies or issues of title. I honestly don't normally evaluate these unless there are known issues, because it does take a tremendous amount of time, and there's usually other issues that are met. So these were not reviewed specifically, and so I did not find that they were met as conditions. 13, 14, and 15, take a look at all of the conditions prior and ask the question, are those conditions impairing or arresting sound growth? Are they slowing down the development of the area, and is that creating a situation of economic underdevelopment? And the reality is that yes, it is. Although development is happening, normally when I see development actively happening, I don't find that these are met. The reason I did has to do with a couple of factors that you actually see in the photos to some degree. So I mentioned the property owners that have to be dealt with in order to widen 12th. You also have a very wide canal that must be dealt with. And as you can see, development that's already happened on the left-hand side of this photo. There is no developer to help participate in those costs to the west. It has to fall upon the public entity to do that. That is a major challenge that will slow growth over time. Looking north, this is the golf course that you see here on this slide. If I could have zoomed in either a little bit further down, and you would have seen the river and the bridge. We have the same situation. As 12th needs to be widened, you don't have the ability to share those costs with developers to pay for development. So essentially, public-private partnerships will be required to do that. That's also true looking at the north end of the golf course, where a major sewer line, a pressurized sewer line, must be installed in order to support regional growth. And so because these facilities are regional, they're major facilities, and because these are areas where there's very limited opportunity for cost sharing with developers, these are scenarios in which, although growth looks abundant at the moment, it will slow as that infrastructure becomes more and more necessary to support growth. So of the 15 criteria, I found that 9 of the 15 were met. The area is eligible to become an urban renewal district. The final thing that we look at is that the state requires that no more than 10% of the city's assessed valuation can be part of an urban renewal district. Excuse me, I phrased that wrong. The total of all the base values of the urban renewal districts cannot exceed 10% of the city's total assessed value. So with your existing districts that you see here in this table, along with the study area, which is valued currently around $28 million, if this were approved and became a district, your total base value would equal 4% roughly of the city's base. Now with that, I would point out the downtown district is nearing the end of its life, so that within a few years comes back off of the base roll. So still have a lot of room for future districts if the council so desired. So that was kind of quick, but I would be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Mr. Kramer on those items? Yes.
Just a quick question. I know that urban renewal is under scrutiny by the legislature. How do you see that playing in this expansion of the urban renewal? Do you see some issues coming out of the legislature that will hinder the creation of this, since it won't happen before in what, 18 months or so is what you're saying?
Well, it certainly won't happen before the legislature is out of session, which is, I don't know if I should say publicly, but danger zone. I'm not hearing anything right now. I participate in the Redevelopment Association of Idaho. I sit in on their talk. They have a lobbyist that comes and talks about what they're hearing. Right now, there's nothing on the street, so to speak, that people are talking about in terms of major legislation. We never know what will get introduced. But the primary, I think the concerns that have happened over the years have to do with agencies that utilize this as a tool to get around the public bonding process, because urban renewal agencies don't have to go out for a vote. They get in trouble when they're strictly greenfield and there's no real challenges to development. And they get in trouble. There's one right now that I have heard of. I won't mention the city, but it's not in this region, that has done a very, very, very small district for one parcel because the developer didn't want to build a sidewalk. And so that kind of use of the tool is typically the problem. This typically is not.
So you see this meeting all the criteria, should stand up to any scrutiny that would come out of the.
I'd be hesitant to say any scrutiny, because there's some people that just don't like urban renewal, but I would be willing to stand and argue in favor of this.
Just to back that up, I was at a meeting with our legislators last Thursday night, and I asked both Senator Ricks and Representatives Weber and Raybold, and they said that they weren't hearing anything that they thought was going to be coming up this year on urban renewal, which is kind of nice for a change. So, so I concur with that. All right, yes, comments?
I have a couple questions, but I don't know if I don't know who's able to answer them for me. I don't know that I have participated in an urban renewal that had as much residential as this, so this is new for me to think about. And so when you talk about the diversity of ownership, I know we're not to this point yet, but how does urban renewal handle that? So if that road was widened and you have all those people's property that you would need to somehow get possession of, how would urban renewal handle that?
Yeah, it's a good question, because the law has changed within the last few years about that. It used to be that urban renewal agencies had eminent domain authority. That is no longer the case. So they can make a recommendation to you as the city council. They can make a recommendation to the county if it were county property, but they have no authority to take land. What they do have the ability to do is utilize tax increment financing to help fund the cost and the purchase of that right of way. If so needed, so they could assist the city or the county financially through those tax increment revenues.
And so in order to like widen 12th West, because I feel like that is probably a big part of what would be hoping to be accomplished, right, in this district.
It's one of the things. The sewer and water infrastructure were also a major part.
And so if those residents were not willing to sell their property, I mean, we have a lot of residents that, so then the city would have to exercise eminent domain in order to make those changes, right? If the residents were not willing to participate.
That would probably be a last resort that might have to happen if you couldn't come to agreements with some of them and you felt like it needed to be done.
But those, I mean, we only have a couple options, right? Like they either sell it or we. Yeah. So those are the two options we have. So
I've been involved with urban renewal since about 2010, and so if you think about the north area, if you think about all the widening of the road all the way up to Walmart, if you think about everything that happened there was a lot of wheeling and dealing, a lot of talking. There's a lot of communication that had to take place in order for that to happen. But most, again, we've never even the thought of eminent domain has never even come up, right? Because I think it's just a matter of helping them see it, helping them understand. So since 2010, now 2025, we've never had issues again dealing with the homeowners or with the owners, but it did take a lot of time sitting with people and conversing with them and letting them know what's happening and coming up with prices and all of that. So But it's a real issue. I mean, you could get every single one except for one homeowner that's going to just, put their heels into the ground and decide that they're not going to do something. Then we'd have to kind of make a decision. I think we'd have to decide. The latest changes that were made to urban renewal, by the way, allows this organization, us as a city council, to be much more involved in this than we had been in the past.
Okay. Does that answer your questions, kind of?
Yeah, I mean, so, yeah. I know I brought this up before. So I live by these individuals, and so I know some of them might change their mind, but I've heard some of them won't. So if they didn't, then we would, we have tough decisions, so I just hope we're all aware of what we're talking about here, because, this happens incrementally. We're not voting on that tonight, but why would we vote on this if we're not willing to see it out, right? Because what would the point be?
Well, I don't think that's I think the major issue that this is going to deal with is the intersection. That's the focal point for now. Now the other will come, but that's going to come anyway. Whether we do an urban renewal district or anything else, that is going to come up. 12th West is going to be an issue sometime in the next 15, 20 years. So whether we do urban renewal or not, at least we would have some means to be able to approach it with folks if we have the urban renewal in place, that we wouldn't have if we don't.
Oh, I'm aware of that. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. I'm just pointing out that these are hard decisions. I hope we're looking at them all as a whole.
I think some of the conversations we've had, I think it's important, and the kind of conversation that will have to be had is that he showed the sidewalk ending right now. When you think about it, and I know because you've driven up those roads as the students are walking to school, they're walking on the side of the streets or walking on against traffic, all those kinds of things. And that's really what we originally didn't plan on including that much of 12th West, right? But we were thinking from a family, from safety, children, that whole community that's being built. Those just thousands of homes that are being built there. We made that choice to go ahead and include that in and study that out because of that. So sometimes you have to, even Second East, you see some changes in the way that the road goes, instead of having it straight, right? Well, that had to do with property owners, and so this property owner on this side is willing to give up, but not this one, and so you shift the road and you make it go around, and you still make it happen, right? So the other aspect, I think, that's perhaps as important as 12th West is that intersection in front of Mother Hibbard's, the entrance into these areas that could be developed but are very difficult to develop because there's no entrance and exits. There's no way to get them in. There's crossing that busy road. So all of that is part of this big conversation and a reason for this, so that side traffic can flow better, again, safety, and drawing business into the community.
Can I add something?
Thank you.
Is it okay if I add something?
Yes.
I think it's important to know that really the next step, right, is that we're going to go through and we're going to bring that plan back, and it's actually going to show those projects. It's actually going to show the priority of those projects, because I don't think 12th West, as we've talked about the projects, widening of it is high on the priority list. It's really that intersection, it's the wastewater infrastructure, those things. And then it's also important to note that, if you form an urban renewal district, it doesn't mean that you're going to hit all those projects. Because if you don't have the growth doesn't occur in those 20 years, you may only get 50% of those projects done. And so one of the options on 12th West widening is it may not be widened, in the life of that district. And so it's just important that you guys will see those projects. Just know that will come back in the plan.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Go
And I
ahead.
think another thing we need to look at is it might not come in 12th West if we get the reconnection of 7th South. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns out there to look at. This is a step. I look at this as the intersection at Main Street and 12th West. We know that's a major problem. We could free up a whole bunch just by fixing the south end of that and north to flow the traffic and the safety concerns on further out. So I said there's a lot of unknowns. If we get this reconnection of 7th South, 12th West, maybe we'll never have to be widened for 20, 30 years, 40 years. You know, we don't know that. But we definitely need to look at the reconnection on top of all this too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
That's one more question.
Mhm.
And so then when we see the plan, and like when you bring it back and when we vote to create the district, does the council then, is that the, do we see the projects individually and vote on them individually? Or is it like we vote on them all at once and then urban renewal can do any of the ones that we have approved?
Yeah, and maybe you can correct me if it's changed, but the way I've seen it in the past is you'll have a list of projects, you'll kind of show a time frame, like a timeline, and part of the reason why you do that is if you're going to bond to make these improvements like early on in the life of that urban renewal district, you're going to have to show that to a bank or whoever's financing it. They're not going to give you a loan if you haven't been able to project out what you're doing, like what those projects cost in that bond, and how much revenue is going to be coming back in the life of that urban renewal district to pay back that bond. So you will see that, and you'll see years, you'll see kind of a priority list, if you will. You could go look at the last one we formed. I think Moody Road, we talk a lot about that Moody Road going over the highway. I think it's like right at the very end of that district list of projects, if I remember right. And you know, that district is what, almost probably 6 years in now, something like that. You only get 20 years on these because of law changes over the last decade. But anyways, hopefully that helps.
So, sorry, I still didn't understand. You're saying that after you vote on it, then they're free to choose, that district is free to choose what they'd like off that list.
That board,
Yeah.
yes, would make recommendations and decide how to spend that money or bond, if you will.
And so after that, our involvement would be if there was eminent domain. Like, how else would we be involved?
Well, I mean, the city is involved often, right? Because we try to work with them on projects that are going to benefit the city. I mean, the district's primarily in the city. This one has a little more in the county, but primarily it's in the city.
But I mean, as far as the council having a vote, like authority.
On the project itself?
Yes, we have no, after we approve the district, then our authority has already been exercised, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Do you agree? I mean, the board would.
With a couple of yeah, unless the one place where I've maybe seen that differ a little bit, like, yeah, you've made the decision that these are eligible projects that could happen. There are some times where an agency may essentially hire the city as the contractor to do the project, in which case, you know, you're gonna have a bidding process and all that thing, so you would still see it. But as far as like rejecting the project, yeah, you are saying these are things that the urban renewal district could do if the finances are there.
And just so you know, that's how we have done this in the Rexburg urban renewal. Is the city has done the bidding, the city has paid for the project, and then they contribute back to cover that expense.
Yeah.
We've never done anything. We keep the city plan, right, the long-term plan in mind. Everything we've ever done, I think, has been with that idea of how do we help fulfill that which is taking place. You know, when they made the decision to build a temple on that side of town, there was a lot that needed to be done. There was a lot to be paid for, roads to be widened, that the city didn't have the money for, but urban renewal did. I don't know the exact percentage, but the percentage that the sewer, for example, the sewer system going through. So anywhere where it crosses urban renewal, we've paid for that, right, Matt? I mean,
Yeah, and
So
that,
there's just
that
all
project, they're paying 35% of that project that will bring that
You know,
system.
and that may be one thing I can see what Councilmember Johnson is getting at is, are we kind of totally losing control? But I think if I'm thinking right, most of the projects that are approved for an urban renewal district are projects that we take on as a city, and the urban renewal just helps. They don't just go do it by themselves, right? We say, hey, we're gonna fix that intersection, and will you help us with $500,000 or $2 million or whatever it takes to contribute towards that? So we're still actually voting to do these projects most of the time. I suppose there could be a time when if it was this maybe a smaller one, urban renewal just pay for the whole thing, then they could just decide to do it. But most of the time our projects are big enough that it takes money from several places, and so we're still voting on them most of the time. Okay, so if there are no other questions or comments, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2025-12, which is the urban renewal eligibility study.
Mayor,
West Highway 20.
I'll make that motion to approve resolution number 2025-12.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Second by Councilmember Reeser. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. Let's thank you, Mr. Kramer, for being here. We appreciate that information from you and your work on that. All right, let's move on to item number 11B, which is a staff recommendation to amend the employee committee bylaws to remove the emergency services department from the committee. Since they are now employed by the district fire board, what do we call that? The fire district. Then they are no longer city employees. So, is there any questions about that? It's pretty straightforward. I would entertain a motion to amend these committee bylaws.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion that we amend the employee committee bylaws to remove the emergency services department from the committee.
All right, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember Riggins. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. Item C, Planning and Zoning recommendation to amend the Rexburg City Development Code, ordinance number 1200, to provide for sky bridges in chapter 3.9, designated as ordinance number 1340, if this motion passes. And we can talk about this, but we're going to actually request to suspend the rules and consider this third read if it passes. So we'll turn the time over to Mr. Parkinson to tell us a little bit more about this item.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Yes, we had a request come in about the possibilities of putting sky bridges between buildings over our public streets. And we had discussed this prior to this in our downtown projects, being able to do it. But when we got looking, we had no method in our code that would allow us to do that. So we went through and looked at what options we had. We've actually studied other cities that do sky bridges. There's quite a few of them around. Looked at what they did, their code, what they were requiring, even called and visited with some of them. We talked to the people in Boise, they have them over there, because one of the main concerns from Public Works was, how do we control this, because it's over our space. And Boise has a deal where they literally have a right to use. They sign an agreement with us that if they violate, we have the right to take that back and stop them or anything of that kind. So we got a copy of that. Spencer looked through that and is going to be able to modify that to meet the needs to cover that. But we see a need for this in the city, especially in the one project in particular. They're building two parts to a apartment complex, but the offices and the workout rooms and all that type of stuff is in one building, and the other building's on the other side of the street. So we would have a lot of students traveling through intersections during the winter, everything else, and their take on it was, let's put a sky bridge in and look at this as an option to keep those students from having to go across there and having to go out in cold weather and make it more accessible for those students. We've seen the same option, being able to use it in other sections of the city, and thought this was something we wanted to bring forward to you. We presented it to City Council after staff had reviewed, and they have forwarded it to you for, they recommended for approval to you. Now, do you want to go through the code and read through some of that? Or have you had a chance to review what changes? I'm willing to do either way or answer any questions that you do have.
Go ahead with questions.
Alan, so would this apply only to sky bridges that span city streets, or if they had two apartment complexes side by side that didn't involve a city street, would this apply there?
No,
Or
they
it
would
just applies if
this
it
is only when
crosses
it
our
crosses-
city street.
yes, that is correct.
Okay.
BYU Idaho already has some connecting buildings.
They have two of them.
So even without a code, that wasn't,
Yeah. All they have to do.
ordinance, that wasn't a problem.
Yeah, all they have to do is meet building requirements and engineering standards to be able to make sure it's safe and meets the needs. But it's just, this one would be encroaching upon our public right of way, so we wanted it in the code so we could control it. We've asked that it be a CUP, so it would be brought in front of you for every single one of those, so you can look at it and say, does it meet the criteria of what we want to see in the right place, the right time? So it would be a CUP.
So maybe I missed something. I mean, I looked through it, but I don't see anywhere where it says that it's restricted only to sky bridges across city streets. Is
Well,
it in the definition of a sky bridge?
No, the sky bridge is in there, but we were approaching it strictly as this is for
Oh, that
only
spans
over-
a public street. It does
Yes,
to say it
it's
there.
in there.
I'm sorry. Okay, missed it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then I was looking through it, and it looks like it has to be like a certain height, so it couldn't be in like residential areas or anything like that.
As long as they have that 16 feet, 5 inches, 16 feet, 6 inches that Keith requires. And he says, I have to have that to make sure my equipment clears, everything else. And one of the things we looked at on the one that was proposed, where they were wanting to put that across, we started worrying about, is this going to block a future stoplight? And so we actually went in and modeled it to make sure that it would not block the vision of that. And the 16.6 puts you at that point where stoplights can still be seen if they're installed. Other things we looked at, we don't want any signage on there. We don't want this to be an advertising deal. We limit the size of them in width. They've got to be at least 8 feet, but they can't go over 14 feet. We don't want to be covering the whole street and creating that. They have to do things to protect that glass, safety glass, everything else. So if it does shatter, we're protecting people underneath that. They have to contain the rainwater and the snow water so that it doesn't come down. We don't want snow coming off in large lumps onto our streets or onto pedestrians. So those are all in that code that they have to be able to protect that.
Okay. Because did you ever read about, I can't remember when it was, in Oregon, I think it was Oregon. Do you remember reading about this, where they were building sky bridges to connect two homes?
Oh, I hadn't heard of that one. Sure.
So again, he stated that requirement, but then in the discussion, because again, this was discussed at large, we decided on bringing to you a conditional use for every single application. So
that
given
can
your
happen
concern
anyway,
with
yeah.
residential, it would be an analysis of a conditional use permit. And in that conditional use permit, one of the things that you can look at is one of the exact legal factors is like use or compatible with use in the designated area. And so there's a number of those factors. So again, this isn't just free reign on sky bridges. You know, I know Bart's got deep pockets and he's ready to build all sorts of them, but this isn't a free reign. We're gonna rein them in.
Okay, I have just one more question.
Yes, go ahead.
I always wonder when we're suspending the rules, just because, so why do we need to suspend the rules and expedite it?
We had no opposition in our P&Z. We had those in favor. We do have a little bit of a timeline that the developer is looking at to be able to get it on a project he wants to move forward. I wasn't going to suspend him if we had any kind of resistance, because then we would want to take that time and do it. When we don't see any resistance, I don't see a need to hold this up further.
And to that end, Alan brought it to me and asked if I thought it was appropriate. And he knows this, I can be very annoying and belligerent because my initial thing is sky bridges are just gonna cause more harm than good. We have gone through and systematically talked to people from Utah, Boise. We've had multiple meetings. We brought in all staff. Alan spoke with BYU Idaho talking about snow concerns. Again, there really wasn't any leaf unturned in this one, and so that's why I was comfortable even telling Alan that I don't have any issues with suspending the rules, or at least presenting that to you to make that recommendation.
Okay, any other further questions or comments, anyone? All right, if none, I would entertain a motion to move forward on ordinance number 1340.
I think you would have to suspend the rules first before you can consider it third read. Isn't that correct?
Well, don't we suspend the rules after don't we pass it first? Or
No,
I guess if we're gonna pass it all in one thing, we would do it that way.
Suspend the rule
right?
and then consider it third read.
We haven't done that for a long time.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
We don't
So-
ask unless we really think it's good.
All right, so at this point in time, then I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules and consider this ordinance third read if it passes. So I think we need a roll call vote to suspend the rules, right? So is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Mr. Mayor, I shall make a motion that we suspend the rules on ordinance number 1340 if passes. Let's consider it third read.
Okay. All right, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Colin Erickson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we need a roll call vote. Mariana, is Mariana here?
He disappeared.
Oh, Deborah, would you go ahead with the roll call vote for us, please? Let's see. She here? I can't see.
Councilmember Riggins? Councilmember Reeser?
Yes.
Councilmember E. Erickson?
Yes.
Council President Walker?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson? Councilmember C. Erickson?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. So is that motion just to suspend the rules, and now do we need to vote on the actual thing? Okay, that's what I was thinking. All right, so at this time then, I would entertain a motion to move forward and approve ordinance number 1340 on amending the Rexburg City Development Code. Is there such a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we vote on ordinance 1340 and consider it third read, that we pass it.
All right, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Eric Erickson. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. We will go ahead and get us a sky bridge. Okay. All right, item number 12, which is the second reading. Ordinance number 1339 to rezone Sky Meadows subdivision along Silverwood Lane and Ridgeview Drive from low-density residential 1 to low-density residential 2. This item was discussed in our previous meeting. Is there any further discussion or questions about this item before we move forward? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to consider ordinance 1339 second read.
I'll make a motion that we consider ordinance 1339 second read.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Council President Walker, I think was first, so we'll go with that. Is there any other questions or comments about this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Ordinance number 1339 is second read. We'll move it to the third reading calendar. And item number B is a third reading of ordinance number 1338, the right-of-way vacation at approximately 1233 and 1215 Stocks Avenue. Any comments or questions about this item before moving forward? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to consider ordinance 1338 third read.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Colin Erickson. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, ordinance 1338 is considered third read and passed, and we will take it off the reading calendar. Item number 13 is the consent calendar, which is the minutes from the November 5th, 2025 meeting and the approval of the payment of the City of Rexburg bills. Is there any comments or questions, any corrections to the minutes or anything like that on the consent calendar? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as stated.
Mr. Mayor, I shall move that we can approve the consent calendar and pay the bills.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilmember Colin Erickson. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the consent calendar is approved and that motion passes. And with that, we are at the end of our agenda. And we do have our meeting scheduled for next, let's see, next, what is it, December, the first Wednesday in December is December the 3rd. So we will continue on things then. So thank you, everyone. This meeting is adjourned. All right.
Expect a birthday cake at our next meeting then.
Recording stopped.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we've done that before. We've done this on my birthday.
We'll sing to you.
We're having the John Schmidt Gala is on my birthday.
Oh, cool.